Welcome to MojoTalks. My name is Eric, and as you may know, on Fridays we have a series that we publish where we tell you what you should binge over the weekend. Then we come back on Monday, we convene a panel, and we have it out to figure out what is the king, what is the most binge-worthy series that we watched over the weekend. So here is our panel. We have Liam, who is the head of our film department, and Manny, who is a director, producer here at MojoTalks. How you guys doing?
Not too bad.
Very good.
Excellent. So, Manny, you watched The Toys That Made Us, Season 2. And Liam, you watched A Picnic at Hanging Rock, which is an Australian series on Amazon, just came out.
Based on a book.
Based on a book. Let's start with The Toys That Made Us, because I know that our fans are, I mean, this is right in our sweet spot. Manny, you watched Season 1, you were thrilled with it. You watched Season 2. Bring us up to speed.
Well, Season 1 goes over Star Wars, Barbie, He-Man, and G.I. Joe, which kind of all did these huge, basically they changed the game the way toys were marketed and how they operate toy companies.
So this is less about the production of the toys,
Yeah.
and really about the positioning of the toys in the market.
It's more the cultural phenomenon that this toy has done, how Star Wars changed the game in terms of how movies were marketed via toys. Barbie basically is an icon still. She's more of a brand and what she's done for little girls growing up playing with that doll. He-Man was just like a crazy, like overnight success. They didn't know what they were doing with that one. And
Do you follow Skeletor on Twitter, by the way?
No.
Funniest Twitter account of all time.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's
jump on.
Grumpy Skeletor, so it's the best. Anyway, sorry.
And then obviously you have G.I. Joe, which was kind of a war toy, which evolved into the first action figure, which evolved into this phenomenon, TV shows. So Season 2, what's funny is that Season 1, the first episode was Star Wars, and Season 2, the first episode was Star Trek.
There you go. That makes a lot of sense.
But because Star Trek came out before Star Wars, it was basically like any toy company would buy a license, and they were slapping stickers on any kind of toy they could find. It was never accurate to the show. They were coming out with like, this is the Star Trek motorcycle cop. You can take care of the Enterprise. And here's
I had that toy.
Yeah, here's the Star Trek water gun that looks like a regular gun, but it's green, so it's from space. It was a lot of random toys like that. The rise and fall of Mego, which was a company that made 8-inch fully articulated action figures. That was really interesting. The second episode is Lego. Lego's always fun. It's great. I mean, there's so many documentaries on Lego. I kind of just skimmed through that one. Sorry.
Well, but I also saw in the trailer, when they talk about Lego, I think Lego at one point became the biggest toy
It is the
company
biggest toy
manufacturer in the
company
world.
right now.
Do you play with Legos?
Not anymore, but I did
Yeah.
at one point. And
Well-
I think like the branding there is like, you can have Lego Harry Potter, Lego
Yeah.
Star Wars. Like,
Well, that's a huge thing that they talk about in the documentary, how that kind of overtook a little while from
Yeah.
like building Legos itself. And there was the Hello Kitty episode, which was super interesting.
Right,
I
because
love
there's
that one.
the Japanese influence.
Yeah, the Japanese influence. Believe it or not, the first Hello Kitty product was a coin purse, which now retails for about $3.5 million in the
Jeez.
collector's circle.
I can see that episode being interesting because like we don't like Hello Kitty isn't really a thing here as much as it is. Like,
Yeah, as it is in Japan, and basically what type of thing it was, right?
Yeah.
So my favorite episode of the entire series, believe it or not, is not the Star Wars one, but it is the Transformers one.
Of course. Because nobody knew that would be the phenomenon that it became, right?
Yeah, and the movies that it created and how much involvement Hasbro had when they were marketing the stuff. It's such an interesting episode, and one of the main creators of Transformers, just his influence throughout the years that we've had this product since like the early 80s until now, this guy's still involved and he's still designing Transformers. Basically, it was like 2 or 3 separate toy lines that came together that eventually created Transformers. And a huge blow to them that they thought would have been devastating was that they had GoBots.
I was going to say.
Tonka launched
GoBots.
GoBots like months before the Transformers launch, and Hasbro had invested millions of dollars, and they were like, "What?
Is that the cliffhanger in the episode?
It's kind of like the way they launch, like, and then Transformers did this. I mean, these are really fun documentaries. The VOs are really funny. Sometimes there's reenactments. We get to speak to all the original creators of the show, of the toys, and we're getting to see, mistakes that were made, how they fell, how they were at the top, and then they fell. But it's all done in a very lighthearted way. It's very nostalgic, and I grew up with most of these toys. So for me, it's like any episode. They could make an episode on freaking basketballs, and I'll watch it. Like I'm sure it'll be just as interesting.
He is the leader of the Autobots.
Let's roll.
Optimus uses his skills to heal and repair, to improve the world around him, and if necessary, to destroy.
You're finished, Megatron.
He's a symbol of safety, a good father figure.
And also the largest, strongest, and wisest of them.
So you're ready to defend the binge-worthiness of this episode, but let's hear Liam's show. Very different style.
Very different.
I'm excited for the toys based on Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Right. So tell us about a Picnic at Hanging Rock.
So it was made into a movie. A novel came out in 1967, I believe.
75 was the movie?
The movie was 75. It kind of became this like Australian legend that they took on because of this book. It's basically about this group of schoolgirls in the early 1900s, I want to say, that end up going missing one day. I think it's St. Valentine's Day at Hanging Rock. That's like it's all around this picnic that they have on that day. And the rest of it, the story is them investigating it. But then the whole premise of the story is that like from the beginning that like they don't ever solve this mystery. And so this new show stars Natalie Dormer from Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen Game of Thrones, so this is the first thing I've really seen her in. She's good. I think her parts of the show are the most exciting when they kind of stray away from the story, because we've seen it in two different mediums at this point. I think like they do some interesting like surreal stuff with her and her backstory. But in all, I think it's kind of unnecessary telling of this. I think it could be cut down to at least 3 episodes. The final runtime is like 6 episodes, I think. So, yeah.
The dark gets in. You can't just say, I've had enough now. It gets everywhere.
I got the sense that just looking at it, it feels a little bit Virgin Suicides-esque.
I was actually thinking about that throughout the runtime, that like this adaptation of it really kind of takes that Sofia Coppola weird, it's kind of like a dark comedy, like they interweave all these like kind of darkish pop songs, or not pop songs, but like these kind of weird songs that you wouldn't think would be in a period piece. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really, it is a period piece, but I get the sense that this is a departure from your typical period piece as well.
I think, yeah, the mystery aspect of it and the kind of surrealism that they show in it. The original movie, I think, is definitely worth watching. I think I would recommend watching that over this, and if you really like the movie, then like this has some really interesting ideas. I think the Natalie Dormer storyline that you don't really see in the movie, which is like her backstory and her before she was kind of started this whole girls' school. There's some weird flashbacks and like trippy visuals that I think are really interesting that the movie doesn't really get into. So I think that aspect of it is cool.
But is this based on a true story, or at least supposedly based on a true story?
The movie starts with a little title card saying like, this could be fact or it could be fiction, like it's up to you to decide and stuff like that. A lot of it's like put up to interpretation.
So I get the sense, look, usually what we do at this portion of the show is then, we get the two of you guys to face off as to which one is more binge-worthy. But I get the feeling Transformers is gonna, yes.
I've noticed that this is the 3rd time I'm on this show.
Yeah.
And I'm always pitching something ridiculous against something like this. Last time it was Evil
Cobra
Genius versus Cobra Kai. Yeah. Now I'm hearing my documentary is about toys. And Liam's over here. It's like, well, it's a huge urban legend that maybe some people killed themselves.
I get the feeling our fans are going to be more interested in the toys.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I still think it's worth a watch, but toys are fun,
Ironically, it would be another brick that would nearly bring Lego down. But it wasn't Mega Bloks. This one was called the Pixel.
So how binge-worthy is this? I have a feeling we're crowning this one the winner between the two.
It's 4 episodes. They're all 40 minutes. The documentaries are super well paced. It flies by. And if you're a big fan of any of these topics, Hello Kitty, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Star Trek, Star Wars, and just to see what they've done, you could binge these 2 seasons like over a weekend easily.
It's on Netflix, right?
It's on Netflix. Yeah. If you have a Netflix subscription, cool. If not, 30-day trial membership, check it out. You guys
More
can
than
do
enough
that.
time to check out all those.
Yeah.
I think even if you're not into that stuff, like I saw a movie, a documentary about the Star Wars toys, like the whole Kenner line, that was completely unrelated to this, and it blew me away. I thought it was such an interesting story.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know.
I mean, look, they're fun.
Yeah.
There's jokes. They're lighthearted documentaries. There's no huge depressing second act that leads into an uploading third.
It's toys. Let's have fun. Let's play some toys.
Structure. Yeah, it's toys. I mean, it's a good time. You learn if you're into that. A lot of these toys I still have in my collection today, so that's what I find really cool.
Yeah, some of the stuff that we have in the background here, this comes from Maddie's house. Let me ask you this before we go. What is the one, if there's season 3, what do you want to see in season 3?
Ninja Turtles, hands down.
Oh,
Ninja Turtles was such a wacky phenomenon.
Yeah.
They kind of allude to it in one of the episodes. They're like, hey, you remember Playmates? That was a good company they did. Ninja Turtles? So I feel like it's coming up. I'm excited for that one the most because that is the one that I was really right in the midst. Like that was really when I was a kid buying toys. That was the one. I remember with my dad telling him, I need this one. He's like, but this green guy is the same as this green guy. And
No,
then
it's
he's
Leonardo.
also this green guy. I don't understand. Why do you need 4 of these green people? And then I'm like, no, but they're all different and they're
They all have
turtles.
different headbands.
Yeah.
That's the only thing different.
They'll have different headbands, okay? Yeah, my dad doesn't get anything. He's an immigrant from Greece. And what do you want? He doesn't get turtle people.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. Clearly, the winner is The Toys That Made Us. I'm going to watch this. I'm pretty interested in this.
Probably will too.
Yeah.
I think you guys both should.
Let us know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Mojo Talks and ring that bell.